Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu einer weiteren Folge Witch on the Holy Night. Aoko hat jetzt über Toko gesiegt. Und ich weiß jetzt gar nicht, ob Sojiro jetzt schon dazugekommen ist oder nicht. Das habe ich jetzt gar nicht mal so im Kopf. Aber es kann sein, dass das jetzt schon die letzte Folge wird oder zumindest die vorletzte. The silence was disquieting. Moonlight peered through the demolished ceiling, illuminating the two sisters with its stare. The utterly mad sibling squabble was over. Now the fireworks were finished, and the cold wind had returned to claim the old school building.
何か言い残すことはある?
Aoko's voice cut through the silence. Toko thought for a moment, before lightly patting her coat pocket. Nothing, she frowned.
最後に一服と思ったが、あいにくお前を待っている間に吸い切ってしまってね。日本のタバコはうますぎていけない。
Aoko gave a small nod.
なかなか常人には真似できない遺言だったわ。待て待て。いくら私でも遺言まで謎かけをする気はないよ。お望み通り、敗者は敗者らしく遠吠えをあげるから聞くといい。
That's all. Toko's voice was laden with sarcasm, but not hostility or hatred. Perhaps her vendetta was not directed at Aoko herself, but rather a product of two sisters born into a mage family.
青崎の魔法が時間旅行に端を発するものとは思わなかった。まだ事情がありそうだが、当事者ではない私には何ともね。凡夫にはわからない悩みだ。せいぜい大事に付き合っていけばいいさ。しかし10年経ってもそれでは先が思いやられる。アリスは何をしていたんだか。アリスにしてはよく付き合ってくれた方よ。魔術師としてはいつまでも半人前っていうのが彼女の結論。けどまあそうね、あの狼とならいい勝負をしたんじゃない？あれはダメだ。敗北を知ってしまった。もう完全じゃない。半人前に値で勝っていようが、魔法の前には特異性を見失うだろう。ところで青子、お前の魔法とやらは手段かそれとも結果か。
Is it cause or is it effect? Toko wanted to know if it came before or came after. Did Aoko need magic to get her where she needed to go, or did she obtain magic as a result of reaching that place?
あとよ、私は扉の前で尻尾を巻いたからジジイの思惑なんて知らないけど、第一魔法と同じ経緯か。ますます業が深い。第2から第4はその場所へ到達するために生み出されたものと聞く。同族嫌悪は世の常だ。いずれ第一と食い合わなければいいのだがね。しかし扉ときたか。魔法の継承とはパスの継承のようだな。ではやはりここにユミルの入り口があると。
Wenn ich Ymir lese, muss ich direkt an AOT denken.
北欧かぶれのあなたにとってはね、私にとってはアカシャの門と言えるものよ。
Aber ja, ich glaube, Ymir war auch ein Riese in der... Ja, ich glaube, das war ein Riese in der skandinavischen, also nordischen Mythologie.
最初からそれを狙っていたんでしょ、あなたは。
Toko used every ounce of strength he could find to not.
望めば手に入るというのに何代も待つのは嫌だったんだ。ソフトはそれで決別したようなものだったよ。青崎に対する復讐心はそれには優先されなかった。まあ全ては終わったことだ。もう語る必要はない。最後に根源に触れた感想が聞きたいな。
Toko spoke after taking a deep breath. Her last words showed no trace of hatred. Ark remained silent as she began raising her right hand up. She recalled her grandfather's orders. The source of true magic. Revealing one's knowledge or impressions of the root was strictly forbidden. But this was her sister's dying wish. Maybe it would be okay. The conversation would end the moment she brought her arm down. Then this rotting shell of a building would become her sibling's tomb. What harm could it do? And it's not like she planned to follow her grandfather's rules anyway.
白状するとね、姉さん。
Arcus was carried through the blue hallway.
正直、全然わからなかったわ。
Arcus gave a blunt reply and brought her arm down like a bolt of lightning. Or at least she tried to. Soldier, hält ihr Arm fest? Ich wusste es. Her arm wouldn't listen to her. It wouldn't budge. It wouldn't budge.
何のつもり?
Cursing Alice, Arcus spat her question out with venom. Soldier materialized from behind, taking hold of her raised arm. Though unable to express it, Toko was shocked to see him too.
で、話して。
Without looking at him or even at her restrained hand, Arcus spoke sternly, her eyes forward. Come to think of it, at the amusement park, he appeared out of nowhere to protect her from that puppet.
聞こえなかった。二度はないわよ。
She was not bluffing. If he interfered, even he would be given no mercy. I've decided to let you live. It would go against that promise, but he should know better. Even so, he maintained his grip on her
いい
arm.
加減に。
As Orko turned around, the word told caught in her throat. She immediately regretted looking at him. She saw herself in his expression. Mournful sadness, judgmental anger. His conflicting emotions spoke to her of her own internal struggle. Voiceless, quietly, without volition. Rustic grey eyes, questioning a deep sin.
言いたいことがあるならはっきり口にしなさい。それができないなら消えて。
Soldier gently released Arko's arm as she maintained her resolve. Their locked eyes, neither friend nor foe. The bitterness clashed without words. And then suddenly,
人殺しはいけないことだ。
Soldier stated in that matter-of-fact way of his with which Arko had become all too familiar. His words were empty, trite even. And yet, given her current state, they reached her. Also, she would soon forget the fragments of Soldier's memories. They made her painfully aware of how he felt. Still, she could not agree with him. It would come back to bite her if she let Toko go now. Her sister would come for her again. She had already made 2 attempts on her life. How could it not have it in her to forgive her sister for what she had done? Above all, just as Toko said, if Orko did not change, she would be a novice forever. She had not even won her first mage battle yet. And she knew putting down a blood relative would require even more conviction. Nevertheless, his words echoed over and over in her head, in her heart. Murder is wrong. Such a childish phrase. But the earnestness with which he had said it, it was enough to make her sick. Resisting Arko glowered at Sojiro.
だから殺されたくせにその相手までかばうっていうのあんたは。元気になったら懲りずにやってくる殺人鬼が相手でも見逃してやれっていうの？
まさかそこまで言ったら聖女だ。
But he would probably still let her go. He did not think that Toko would change. He also did not care to rationalize her actions based on her life. He was simply thankful that this person before him was still alive. You seem pretty damn saintly to me. That was what had made Arko so angry. His overwhelming innocence and self-righteousness enraged her, like the whole of murders was happening all over again. The only difference was now she knew why he was acting like this. It was because she had taken a part of him. He took a step forward, passing her by, saying words he knew he should not.
仕返しなら殺された人間がやるのが筋だろう。君を止められないのは分かってる。だから青崎がやるぐらいなら俺がやる。
It was difficult to discern who was the more pathetic in all of this. Toko, who had been staring at them the whole time, closed her other eye as it drifted off to
ごめん
sleep.
なさい、トコさん。
Knowing her fate, Toko dropped her head as best she could as she walked toward her.
そうだな。君にはそれもいいかもしれない。今は特殊な状況だから、冷めた後に君がどれほど悔やむことになるか想像もできない。ただ、それで君の停滞は終わるだろう。晴れてみそぎ落としというわけだ。純粋に祝福してあげられる。気に食わないのは、それを決意させたのが私ではなかったということぐらいか。
She knew that Sojo could not understand. Her words hanging in the air, she closed her lips tightly, then weakly stuck out her slender neck. Sojo took another step forward. Before he could do anything, Aoko moved. Spinning in front of Sojo, she cut off her magical energy and swung her hand as hard as she could. The sound of her slapping his face echoed through the hall, along with the staggering steps.
青崎。
Ich finde ihr Design so geil da gerade.
卑怯者。
Tears of anger welling in her eyes, Aoko turned her back to Sojo, striking as though she would kill him as soon as she looked at him
他
again.
人の記憶を取り込んだ代償か。引きずられたな、青子。そうよ。自分の意志を人に曲げられるのがこんなに悔しいなんて。
That was about all Aoko could mutter in response. The corners of Toko's lips curled into a grin.
何がおかしいのよ、いや、お前にも人並みの情けがあるとは思っていなくてね。バカ呼ばわりは訂正しておくよ。他人の理想を背負うのに怯えるなんて、10年経っても可愛いじゃないか。あんたね。そう睨むな。今のは心からの賛辞だ。で、私をどうする？彼に殺させるか、それとも見逃すか。仕方ないでしょ。あなたの言う通り、これが何よりの代償だったんだから。
Aoko said begrudgingly, shooting Sojo a sideways glance. He seemed to have recovered from the slap, and his usual absent-minded look had returned. He may have had no memories of his past, but his morals and values were too deep to be erased. Sojo was trying to violate those. It would eat away at him forever, and he would be doing it not for himself but for Aoko. Aoko understood this all too well now. The moment he said he would do it was the moment he lost. Not stopping him would be no different than watching him die, and she would lose something important inside her. Aoko did not want that to happen.
青崎、やっぱりその自分の受けた傷は自分で返さないと気が済まない性格か。
Aoko ignored Sojo, who seemed to have gotten the wrong idea. Instead, she directed her scroll at Toko, who still lay collapsed in front of her.
分かったわよ。トコ、今回は見逃してあげる。けど、ただで帰れるとは思ってないわよね。
Toko scowled at her little sister, standing smugly over her.
祖父のところに突き出すのなら、ここで引導を渡してくれ。まさか、私もあの人には会いたくないもの。あなたにはこのまま出て行ってもらうわ。邪魔。律子は私が言い含めておくから、今回の件は私たちだけの秘密よ。
Toko's brow creased further. That to be a catch.
青子、何を企んでいる？別に。その代わりに呪いをプレゼントしようと思って。今まで散々ガンド食らってきたし、おあいこでしょ？ まあ私のはちょっと強力だけど、今後この土地に入ろうものならマダガスカルガエルになってもらうわ。
Smiling, SSZ just arranged to eat Chinese food tomorrow night. Aoko walked toward Toko.
はて、なんでそういうものだけ習得してるんだお前は。そりゃ師匠がアリスだもの、偏るのは当然でしょ。
The elder Aozaki sister broke knitted so hard it could have produced a sweater. Perhaps this is why his sister would stay in the weeds forever.
宗十郎、席外して。覗き見が趣味なら別に見ていってもいいけど。
As he spoke, she began removing her sister's overcoat. The uncomfortable look in Toko's eyes compared to the strangely cheerful one in Aoko's caused Sojiro to hesitate. Was it really okay to leave the two of them alone? Eventually nodded. This was just a weird game between sisters.
覗き見は確かにいい趣味じゃないな。
Muttering more to himself than anything, he ducked into an empty classroom.
なんだそのブサイクで悪趣味な術式は。センスがないにも程がある。お前本当に私の妹か？
Oh, wie herrlich.
この通り、芸術的才能は全部姉貴に持っていかれた哀れな妹でして、嘆くなら自分の天才性を嘆きなさい。
Wie herrlich. Down the cold, dilapidated horrible cries of sadness, joy, and anguish ran out. Outside, the fully bloomed white flower petals floated one by one into the night. Standing among the ballad of petals, Alice gazed up at the sky. The blossoms gathered into a cloud, then slowly vanished, as though falling asleep. Soon, not a single flower would remain, and the clearing would return to a snowy tundra. The magic had ended. In a matter of minutes, the past would return to its rightful place, along with it the time shared between the boy and the girl. The old school building was still. Alice embraced the silence and patiently waited. After a while, Sojiro emerged from the building and Alice released a puff of bright breath. A small sigh of relief. It was over. Sojiro approached Alice. Sojiro approached, carrying Aoko, cuddling her in his arms. Was she asleep? Her eyes were closed and she seemed peaceful. Her hair and limp body dangled like a silk drape. She looked just like Sleeping Beauty.
待っていてくれたんだ、アリス。
He said, holding Aoko with little effort. Alice
トウコ
nodded.
さんはどうなったの？
いや、よくわからないけど、トウコさんは帰ったよ。青崎が言うには、そう簡単に解除できない呪いをかけたから、向こう10年は三崎市には入ってこれないって。その後、トウコさんが尻尾を巻くのを仁王立ちで見届けて、見えなくなったらそのまま倒れたんだ。
Alice's response was brief, as if she was wondering if things were really so simple. She seemed more concerned about Toko than Aoko, which made Sojiro concerned about Alice and Aoko's relationship more than anything.
それはともかくとして、青子はどうなっているんだろう。
He asked nonchalantly as he looked at Aoko's breathing deeply in her sleep.
矛盾と清純を合わせているのね。彼女の時間は今の時間とは異なってしまったから。歯車を合わせるまで目は覚めないわ。
Sojiro nodded and understanding very clearly, still not comprehending a word Alice had said.
なんか拍子抜けしたよ。結局、トウコさんと青崎、どっちが勝ったのかよくつかめない。
そうね。魔術師の争いには明確な点数はつけられないから。トウコさんの大目的が青崎の魔法の解明なら、魔法を使わされた時点で青子の負けよ。その後のいざこざは凱旋する勝者を夜道で襲ったようなものだし。
Alice said as she turned her sides to the forest. Even Sojiro could tell that was Alice's way of saying let's go home.
そうだね。青崎もアリスもこのままじゃ風邪をひく。ああ、それと青崎がトウコさんに呪いをかけるとき何かしてたんだけど。
Sojiro tried off hoping Alice would tell him what it was. but a stony and somewhat affected gaze was her response.
見たのしずきくん。
いや、青崎が出てけって。
そう。それで青子はどんな呪いをかけたの？
カエルがどうとか。
Cedric's explanation made Alice's expression darken. Aoko was still a long way from learning any sort of polymorph spells.
そう。
Her thoughts prevented her from finishing the sentence. In actuality, it was perfectly within Aoko's abilities considering where she was in time at that moment. As Aoko had said, Toko would not be able to dispel the curse for 10 years. And then Aoko of this time had not the ability to use such a curse, which meant Toko did not have anyone to rebound the curse to. No matter how much she researched dispelling powerful curses, she could not do it with the Aoko of this timeline.
青子が瞳子さんにつけたのは切り傷ぐらいだから、しずきくんが心配するようなことはないわ。青子にしては随分と生ぬるい処置だけど。
After a slightly unsettling remark, Alice quietly began to walk. Soichiro followed her, Aoko in his arms. Together they left the clearing and moved into the forest. As they did, Soichiro abruptly froze.
しずきくん。
He looked back towards the old school building. Old school buildings filled with a strange expression. Was it homesickness he felt? Though this was only a second time seeing it, he had a nostalgic feeling like he would never be back. He looked like a child saying goodbye to an old toy that was able to be thrown away. Seeing his expression, Alice felt a hint of sympathy and chided herself.
あの荒れ地がどうかした？
She asked him, watching the flowery garden fade into a snowy field. Soichiro shook his head.
なんとなく知っている場所に似てる気がして。おかしいな。やってきた時はそんな気はしなかったのに。
He stood staring at the tundra for what seemed like an eternity, reluctant to leave. If she left him there, he would still be gazing at it by morning, probably even longer. But there was no point in doing that. In the end, Allison wasn't the only one who remembered the beautiful scenery he yearned for.
ここはその場所にそんなに似てる？
全然似てない。面影すら皆無だ。
ならそれは気の迷いよ。
Soichiro nodded at Alice's harsh conclusion. He smiled slightly, deciding it was pointless to want something that did not exist.
そうだね。多分幻を見ていたんだ。あれは一度幸福だった時の夢だった。
Surveying the ties that bound him, Soichiro turned his back away from the snow clearing, away from the familiar place where he had known happiness.
さあ、早く帰ろう。青崎は重いし、洋館に着いたらあったかいお茶を入れよう、アリス。
Cedric spoke her name with a smile. Her heart skipped a beat. Since when did he start saying her name so casually like that? Somehow she managed a nod before beginning to walk again. As he moved away from her, she asked a small question to his back.
重いって私より。
Aoko was a bit taller than Alice, so naturally she would wait more, but Alice wanted to hear him say it anyway. Not one to disappoint, so she answered without missing a beat.
ああ、数値的に言うのなら、アリスより10キロ増しぐらい。
そう。青子が聞いてたら大変ね。
Judging by Alice's tone, she was probably going to tell Aoko later.
口が悪いな、アリスも。それに、さっきのは本人の名誉のために死者誤入してたんだぞ、一応。
His attempts at being kind had likely drawn him closer to his
ダ
deathbed.
メかな。
He asked nervously. Alice could not help but crack a smile at his innocence. However, she was not used to smiling in front of others, so she turned away and walked into the woods. From Soichiro's perspective, she was storming off in a mood.
なんだ、友達の悪口で怒るなんて。やっぱり仲はいいんじゃないか、青崎。
Cedric was to catch up with Alice, gently carrying Aoko along the way. So the prince lacked the courage to kiss the sleeping princess. He had at least saved her and was bringing her back to her castle. Despite what he had been through, he did not look like your typical hero. Still, in this story at least, he most certainly was. Also ich würde dann tatsächlich jetzt hier diese Folge wahrscheinlich gleich beenden. Und das hier dann, das letzte Kapitel, gehe ich mal von aus, dann erst in der nächsten Folge anfangen. Eventuell sogar dann schon zu Ende bringen. Ich weiß, die Folge ist jetzt etwas kürzer dadurch, aber passiert dann halt mal. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao.